Hello, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Dan Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started, I want to show you something special. I don't wear this often, but I want you guys to check out this shirt. Raw is War. And the reason I am wearing this shirt is because for those of you who have watched WWE's Vault channel, you know that WWE is celebrating a week of attitude. I guess it's because the new game WWE 2K26 is coming out where CM Punk will be on the cover. Ironically, the last time CM Punk was on the cover, it was WWE 13, where ironically, WWE Showcase was about the Attitude Era. That brings me to why I am here. Before we end this week of Attitude, for all of us Attitude fans, I would like to give you my top 10 favorite matches to take place from the Attitude Era. Now, there was a time where WWE's Vault channel did New Generation. I have my top 10 favorite matches from that era as well. Be sure to check that out. But let's talk now about Attitude. We're going to start at number 10. We start with the Royal Rumble 2001. This is one of my favorite Royal Rumble matches of all time. This had everyone: The Rock, The Undertaker, not that version of The Undertaker, but still, The Undertaker, The Rock, Kane, Jeff Hardy was there. Kurt Angle was the WWE champion at the time, so he wasn't in the Royal Rumble match. But it was Hardy, all these guys, and him, and the eventual winner, Stone Cold Steve Austin, despite being attacked by Triple H. So Stone Cold, all busted up, would go on to win this Rumble, but this was also the Royal Rumble match where we saw Kane set the record for most eliminations of all time, and it took 12 years for that record to be broken, and it would be broken by the future tribal chief Roman Reigns. Next on this list at number 9, we have a very brutal extreme match between Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle at the King of the Ring 2001. This one was somewhat of a grudge match, and Kurt Angle had already competed to become King of the Ring, but thanks to Shane McMahon, Edge would go on to win that tournament that night. But the match of the night was obviously this one. Kurt Angle threw Shane McMahon everywhere. It started off technical, but then it got to the entryway, and Kurt Angle ended up throwing Shane through the entrance Titantron glass not once, but twice. He broke his tailbone. Shane McMahon ended up falling on the back of his head before getting belly to belly suplex properly and thrown through the glass. They went for a super angle slam off the top rope for the win. Most of the things you hear in this story and in the background to this can be found in the unskippable DVD ads from our childhood about not trying this stuff at home. Sadly, some of y'all are still going to try and do that because you don't listen. Just kidding. But moving forward, this match was pretty brutal and everyone walked out a bit hurt, including Kurt Angle when he broke his tailbone. But that wasn't the only injury that happened that night that would inspire the "Don't Try This at Home" ad, as Chris Benoit got injured. Next on this list, another King of the Ring match where people got hurt. This was King of the Ring 1998 with The Undertaker versus Mick Foley, known at the time as Mankind, Hell in a Cell. Man, oh my goodness. I enjoyed this match, But I know that in the process of making this match so great for us, The Undertaker and Mick Foley went through a lot. First of all, The Undertaker had a broken foot. Let's start there, which I did not know and I could not believe, because after throwing Mick Foley off the top of the cell twice, he leaped off the top of the cell. Well, kind of leaped off the top of the cell and landed on both feet while being injured. But let's talk about JR's commentary. First of all, JR sold it perfectly, more so because it was authentic. JR did not see that coming. But when he was like, "Good God Almighty, as God is my witness, he is broken in half." And we thought the match was over. So they carried him out of the arena. Mick Foley got up, got on the cell, went to fighting. Undertaker intended to chokeslam him, but he did not intend. He said this out of character and in character. He did not expect the cell roof to break, causing Mick Foley to fall down. Both the Undertaker, Jerry Lawler, and probably JR thought Mick Foley was literally dead. That's how brutal this match was. And someone asked The Undertaker in a short, as he was getting Undertaker's autograph, he said, "What was the scariest moment of your career?" And his honest answer was Mick Foley. He had moments where they thought Mick Foley was completely unalive. Nonetheless, not only did Mick Foley come back with a tooth that many thought was a booger sticking through his nose, he finished the match, gave The Undertaker a fight, even pile driving him on a chair, putting a mandible claw on him, and The Undertaker had to fight him off by throwing him into thumbtacks not once but twice, with a choke slam and a tombstone. 1, 2, 3. And just when we thought that was it for Mick Foley, not only does he walk out on his own willpower, but he chooses to interfere with the main event match between Kane and Stone Cold in a First Blood match. Next on this list at number 7, we have these two. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 17 in Houston, Texas for the WWE Championship. No disqualification match. Now, this should be considered a match where both men were fan favorites. In many cases, they were. But because Texas is Stone Cold's territory, most of the fans gravitated to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it didn't stop the match from being completely awesome. The match was great. Both men fought it out and bled it out and just gave everything they had. But the real moment came near the end, where Vince McMahon came out after getting his butt kicked by his own son Shane. He came out and helped Stone Cold Steve Austin, handing a chair over to him. And Stone Cold continued to get frustrated because The Rock kept kicking out of stunners and chair shot moves. But it took a couple of more chair shots. 1, 2, 3, Stone Cold wins. Stone Cold gives a toast and a beer to shake hands with Satan himself, Vince McMahon. And JR's commentary at the end of WrestleMania made the show even greater, with the way JR sold Stone Cold shaking hands with Vince McMahon. Chef's kiss. Later on that year, at number 6, we would see Stone Cold and The Rock continue their chapter, and this would take place at the end, near the end of the year, Survivor Series 2001. But this was winner take all, because Team WWF, which consisted of The Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, Chris Jericho, and The Big Show, would take on Alliance members Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Shane McMahon, and then Kurt Angle. Now, what was so crazy about this one was near the end, obviously. This was one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. And it was near the end that it got real crazy because Chris Jericho turned on The Rock and he was about to do some more damage until The Undertaker came and chased him away. Then Stone Cold had The Rock beat, and Kurt Angle came out as an alliance member. We thought Kurt Angle was going to help Stone Cold, but he actually ended up hitting Stone Cold with the championship belt, which allowed The Rock to go for the rock bottom 1, 2, 3. And the WWE stayed in business, which means everyone from the alliance that was not champion would be fired. And they would have to earn their way back into WWE a few months later. But this was one of the greatest Survivor Series matches of all time, and Vince stood victorious, only to turn back to being his villainous self. And the next night, 24 hours later, they found out that certain stocks of WWE were sold to a mysterious man named Ric Flair. And Ric Flair and Vince McMahon became partners. Next on this list at number 5, we have earlier from that year, 2001, we have Kurt Angle, What They Won't Acknowledge, versus Chris Benoit, because they won't acknowledge Chris. But I'll acknowledge it. Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 17, great technical match. We saw these guys pull out their best submissions. We saw Kurt Angle do something he doesn't do often, which is fly. Moonsault from the top rope. And usually it doesn't end well when Kurt Angle does that. Kurt Angle's success at moonsaulting is just as much success as Ric Flair trying to do a crossbody. Nonetheless, great technical match, but due to roll up and holding up the tights, which is illegal, Kurt Angle won this stellar match. They would have another great match with the same rating in a Monday Night Raw steel cage match, where once again Kurt Angle thought it was a good idea to go for a moonsault off the top of the cage, and he missed. And thankfully Kurt Angle won. For Kurt Angle's sake, he won this match, thanks in part to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Going forward to number 4, WrestleMania 2000, the Triangle Ladder match between the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and the eventual winners and tag team champions, Edge and Christian. Now, the highlight of this match is obviously going to be Jeff Hardy doing a swanton bomb on the entryway onto Bubba Ray Dudley. Now, there were a lot of great highlights, but that was one of my favorite ones. Even though Christian was flying and the Dudley Boys walked in as champions after defeating the New Age Outlaws at No Way Out 2000. Nonetheless, this night belonged to Edge and Christian, as they would set a bridge with ladders and a table, shove Matt Hardy off, go for the titles, and win. I think the Hardy Boys should have won the TLC match at North Carolina, seeing as though that was their hometown. But Edge and Christian had to win everything. Jesus. Going forward, we have number 3, Kurt Angle versus The Rock at No Way Out 2000. This match was for the WWE Championship, and it took place, by the way, the next 2 matches on the countdown take place at No Way Out, ironically, where WWE will be for the second time at WrestleMania this year, which is Las Vegas. Despite Big Show's bitterness and interference chokeslamming the referee, Kurt Angle, and The Rock, the match continued to go forward, and it was a stellar match with both men hitting their best moves. Even seeing Kurt Angle do something that not a lot of people do, and that was kick out of the rock bottom. I think he did it twice, but third time was the charm, and The Rock had to overcome refusing to tap out to Kurt Angle's ankle lock and angle slam. Of course, you have to keep in mind what made this match so special was this was during a time where finishing moves were actually finishing moves, and when you got hit once, it was a wrap. So for it to happen and you kicked out, it helped the match get better because it wasn't often that people kicked out of finishing moves, which is more than I can say about now. Although sometimes it's still good, but nowadays it kind of gets taken lightly. Just saying. Number 2. And Kurt was so sad that he lost the championship, he cried on the way out of the arena. But at number 2, we have another great match that took place, a match that was almost 5 stars. We have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H, 3 Stages of Hell, No Way Out 2001 in Las Vegas, Nevada. This match was, I think what made this match so special, as would any match, is the build up. Storytelling, as this man preaches a lot truthfully, is the most important thing. And because the story behind this match was so great between Triple H and Stone Cold, the match itself was good because the build up was good. The first match was a traditional wrestling match, which Stone Cold Steve Austin won. The second fall was a street fight, which Triple H won. Next match, Steel Cage. Triple H wins 2 straight falls. The first fall was Stone Cold. The last 2 were Triple H. And it was in this night where Triple H would begin to become the master of the 3 stages of hell. Ironically, he defeated a snake, the rattlesnake, to start his status as being the master of this match. Who would be the first to conquer him in this type of match? Another snake known as the Viper, Randy Orton, at the Bash 2009. Nonetheless, Triple H wins this match, but Stone Cold Steve Austin still gets the last word after going for a Stone Cold Stunner after he had already lost the match. Stone Cold was defiant and saying, "I'm going to have a moment," despite losing. There is only one 5-star match that has taken place during the Attitude Era. Can you guess it? I believe there's only one 5-star match, but can you guess that 5-star match? It was The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels with Kane as the wild card, because this match took place at Bad Blood 1997 inside Hell in a Cell, the first ever Hell in a Cell. Now, this whole thing started over an issue with an accidental chair shot in 1997, which cost The Undertaker the championship to Bret Hart. They would continue to fight on at Ground Zero, where it took referees and wrestlers to break the two off of each other when the match was ruled a double disqualification. So they had to lock each other in a steel cage. And The Undertaker beat the brakes off of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels managed to find a way to defend himself, but after The Undertaker sat up immediately from Sweet Chin Music, they begin to fight on the outside. Shawn Michaels is made to bleed after being rammed into the cage. Shawn Michaels climbs the cell to get away from The Undertaker, but when he tries to climb down where the announce tables were, Undertaker begins stomping on HBK's hands, and HBK falls halfway from the cell and onto the announce tables. Undertaker then drags him into the ring, goes for a super choke slam off the top rope, a chair shot to the head back when chair shots were acceptable, darn it. But we thought it was the end. And who comes out? That's gotta be Kane. Kane makes his first appearance with Paul Bearer, goes for the tombstone, stealing all the Undertaker's moves, as the Undertaker pointed out in his Hall of Fame speech. And thanks to interference from Kane, Shawn Michaels wins the first ever Hell in a Cell match, and ironically, this match, unlike the WrestleMania matches, which were classics, was the only 5-star match, not only of the Attitude Era, but this was a 5-star match in their whole rivalry, which WrestleMania 25 I thought would be. But hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Let me know what was your favorite Attitude Era match. I'm your host, Dan Cody. That's all the time I have for you today. And I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling. And if you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. You know what they are. I ain't gonna say it, but see you next time, folks. Have a great day.